Welcome to Showing Up Anyway, the podcast for people who are not perfect. On this show, we talk about intuitive eating, fitness without obsession, and healing your relationship with food and your body. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we are talking about food rules, what they are, where they come from, and what the heck you can do about it. I am calling today's episode The Rules That Keep You Stuck. So if you've ever felt guilty for eating past like 7 p.m., judged yourself for grabbing seconds, or find yourself labeling foods good or bad, stick around because you're going to want to listen to this one. I've got to start by explaining what food rules are. I think food rules are these invisible restrictions in our head that tell us what we're allowed to eat, when we're allowed to eat it, and how much is okay. You might tell yourself, don't eat after 7 p.m., or carbs are only for cheat days, or I have to go exercise before I can earn breakfast. We're going to do a little assessment, okay? So you can pause the podcast, go grab a pen and paper, or open up your notes app and come back. This is going to help you, one, understand better what food rules are, okay? Give you some examples of them. And two, help you understand how many you might have in your life, okay? And I'll put these questions in the show notes as well, so you can read them there if you want. You ready? Okay. Do you count calories, macros, or points obsessively? Do calories determine how much you're allowed to eat? Do you feel like you have to eat perfectly in order to be healthy? Do you follow rules about what time of the day it's okay for you to eat or not eat? Do you avoid snacking, or do you feel guilty when you do snack? Do you try to avoid specific foods entirely, like carbs or fats, excluding medical reasons? Do you eat differently when others are around? Do you compare what's on your plate to what others are eating? Do you have rules around drinks, like you can only drink beverages that have no calories? Do you have rules around needing to exercise in order to earn your food? Do you think that carbs or sweets need to be avoided or limited? Do you weigh or measure your food in order to get the perfect serving size? Do you keep a mental list of off-limits foods? Okay, now these are certainly not the only food rules. There are countless others out there, but these are some examples. And while they might feel like structure, they are often rooted in fear. The fear of getting it wrong, the fear of overeating or gaining weight, the fear of feeling out of control or eating something that's bad for you. And by the way, we will get into why using words like bad or unhealthy to describe foods can be really damaging in a future episode. As you can imagine, after following these rules for years and years, we get to the point where we follow them almost automatically. Like we don't even realize they exist or question why they do. And it becomes part of our life in our subconscious brain, deep in your frontal lobe. And what ends up happening is we sort of get disconnected from your body's normal cues, the ones that are supposed to help you recognize when you're hungry, when you're full, and when you're satisfied. And instead, we become overly reliant on external factors like the time of the day to tell us when we should and shouldn't eat, or the calorie tracker to tell us when we should stop. But obviously, food rules don't come out of thin air, so where the heck do they come from? Well, I like to say they are either picked up, patched together, or passed down. The 3 Ps. When I say they are picked up, I mean from the world around you. They picked up from diet culture, from TV shows, music, movies, social media, fitness influencers, and I hate to call out my own kind, but even personal trainers. Some examples might be don't eat fruit because it has too much sugar, make sure you eat protein 30 minutes after a workout or it's wasted, or don't eat processed food. Then we have rules that are patched together, ones we've created from our own experiences. Maybe you felt out of control around a certain food one time and so you've banned it. Or maybe you gained weight after a vacation and suddenly you're trying to undo all of that. And then we have rules that are passed down from the people who raised us, adults in our life. These are often the earliest and the most deeply rooted rules. Did you ever hear, are you sure you want seconds? Or you're not getting dessert until you finish everything on your plate. Or maybe we don't keep junk food in this house. Even if nobody explicitly sat you down and said, these are your food rules, they still were there, right? Through the habits that were formed, through the comments that were made, and through the emotional atmosphere in the household. And so that's where we're heading next, into the family food rules, the ones that are still probably shaping your choices today. So we're gonna take another assessment, all right? I want you to flip over that paper and we're gonna talk about how your family might have made an impact on how you view food. Are you ready? All right, did anyone monitor your portion sizes? Were your parents constantly dieting and critical of their own bodies? Were sweets restricted in the house? Were snacks only allowed at specific times? Did you ever hear the words unhealthy or fattening to describe foods? Was there frequent talk about calories, weight, or being good or bad based on your food choices? Did your parents have strict guidelines around meal times? Like, did everyone need to eat together? Were you expected to finish everything on your plate even if you weren't hungry anymore? Were sweets restricted or limited or only allowed as a special treat on certain occasions? Did you ever feel like you had to sneak food or hide how much you were eating? Were you ever given a nickname that had to do with your appetite, your weight, or your body size? Were there different rules around food for different members of the family? Did your parents ever comment on what or how much you were eating around other people? Did you ever get mixed messages in your house? For example, telling you needed to lose weight, but also telling you needed to finish your food. Now, in fairness, it's probably safe to say that most of your parents, certainly not all, but most of your parents did the best they could with the knowledge that they had. Unfortunately, they are also victims of diet culture, as were their parents. See, this is a generational trauma. But it's still important to call it out because the environment in which we grow up teaches us more than just what to eat. It also teaches us how to feel about food. Early messages become internal beliefs, teaching you essentially that you can't trust yourself and you have to rely on external rules to teach you how to stay in control. And of course, we carry these beliefs into adulthood. I'm sure that I can probably pinpoint a few you still struggle with today. Things like, no, I have to finish my plate. I want to get my money's worth. I can't throw the rest away even though I'm full. That's a waste of food. No, I can't have a snack that'll ruin my appetite. These kinds of rules affect everything from your grocery lists to how you feel at parties to what you decide to order off a restaurant menu. They're going to impact your social life, your personal relationships, and your self-esteem. Now, psychologically speaking, I understand why we have these kinds of rules, okay? I mean, the world is, especially now, pretty unpredictable and sometimes overwhelming. And rules create structure, right? And so when we follow them, we feel like we're in control. And food rules are no different. They make us feel like we're doing the right thing. And if we're doing it right, well, then we won't gain weight, we won't be judged, and we won't fail, right? Well, no. We already talked about how you're never going to be perfect, haven't we? And the more rules you have put in place, the greater your chance of breaking one or two. So what happens when you do? Let's say you eat something right before bedtime, or you have a dessert even though you didn't exercise that day, or you had carbs. What happens next? Well, you'll probably feel guilt first, right? You ate that cookie, and so your brain's going to be like, oh my God, why'd you do that? You screwed up everything. Then you're going to feel ashamed, probably, because breaking that rule, it's not really about the food, is it? It's about being good. And, well, you broke the rules, so you're no longer that. Then you're going to probably overcorrect. And one of two things is going to happen. Maybe both. Probably both. One, you're going to think, well, I already messed up, so I might as well eat that whole bag or eat the whole sleeve of cookies. And after that, you're going to think, well, tomorrow I'll start again. Tomorrow I'll be good. Maybe I'll skip breakfast and that'll balance it out. And it starts this cycle of binge and restrict. You get stuck in this loop. The stricter the rule, the harsher the backlash. And it becomes this swinging wrecking ball between restriction and binge, and it's dangerous at both ends. And the crazy thing is that a lot of people don't even realize that they're following these food rules. They just feel the guilt when they break them. And studies even show that guilt can kick in even if you only think you broke a rule, even if you didn't actually. Now, some of you are going to hear this and you're going to think, well, Adam, if I don't have rules, then what is stopping me from eating as many chips as I want? I'm just going to finish that whole bag. And the idea is actually that you do get to a point where you can eat as many chips as you want. But as many chips as you want is maybe just a few, maybe a handful. We shouldn't have to rely on these kinds of rules to control yourself. We should be able to trust your body to tell you when you've had enough. And ironically, when you get rid of these kinds of rules, those temptations are often lessened. Relearning how to hear your hunger, your fullness, your satisfaction takes time. It certainly does, but it's possible. And it's worth it because it's extremely liberating. In a few minutes, we're going to talk about how to start to get rid of some of these food rules. Before we get there, I want to reassure you it is okay to feel a little unsure or anxious about living life with less or no food rules. That's the kind of life you have not lived, probably in a long time, maybe ever. But as the saying goes, growth happens outside of your comfort zone, right? One of the most impactful things you can do to start to get rid of these food rules is reframing how rigid your thinking is. Because one of the many problems with food rules is that it leaves no room for real life. If your schedule changes, let's say you're traveling or you're sick or you're celebrating, the rules don't adapt from your regular 9 to 5. Your life is different in that moment, but those rules are the same as they were in your normal routine. So something easy that you can do is to start adding flexibility for your rules. One of the things I like to tell my clients is let's add for the most part on the end of your goals. I'm going to eat vegetables with every meal for the most part. I'm going to go on a walk every day this week for the most part. I'm going to stick to my calorie goal for the most part. Because adding flexibility means trusting in yourself. And again, since we know you're not going to be perfect, when you do, for the most part, do what you said you were going to do, that's an accomplishment. It's not a failure. Flexibility means trusting yourself to adjust and not punishing yourself for being human. So now, I can't have sweets becomes I trust myself to enjoy sweets when I want them. I'm bad if I eat this becomes I'm learning to listen to my body and I'm not going to judge myself for it. I have to earn my food becomes my body deserves nourishment no matter what. Instead of I overate at dinner so the whole day is ruined, it's I understand that one meal does not undo every other choice that I made today. Letting go of food rules is not going to happen all at once, okay? It is a process. It's not a switch. Even though you might know logically not to follow a rule, you might still hear it in your head, but you're the one that gets to decide whether or not you listen. So here's your homework, and we're going to start small, okay? I want you to pick one rule to challenge. You can use the list that I gave you, or you can pick one of your own. Maybe that means you're eating past 7 p.m., or you're eating a food from your not allowed list. And I want you to challenge it. First, verbally, and then when you're ready, I want you to challenge it in practice. Maybe that means eating past 7 p.m. or eating something from your not allowed list. You should expect a little discomfort, okay? Unlearning is messy, and you might feel a little guilt or fear or doubt. That does not mean that you're doing it wrong. It just means that you're pushing yourself and trying something new. And if you do feel those feelings, ask yourself, what am I afraid might happen if I stop following this rule? Who taught me this rule? And do I actually agree with it in the first place? Am I using this rule because I actually believe it or because I'm trying to please somebody else? I remember when I first started going through this process, I was really scared of drinking full calorie sodas. I would not buy a regular Coke. It had to be Coke Zero because that was 0 calories, right? But as I said, it's more than just changing your mindset. You have to put this in practice. And so what I decided to do was go and grab a little 6-pack of those mini cans of full calorie Coke. And I remember sitting at my table and being very nervous when I cracked it open. I hadn't drank a full calorie soda in probably years. I did that day, and I learned a few things. First thing I learned, I didn't automatically gain weight because of it. Second thing, I didn't lose control. And the third thing, I didn't actually like full calorie Coke. I prefer Coke Zero. And so I stuck with it, but that was my choice, and it wasn't because of a rule telling me I couldn't have it. Remember that you were not born with food rules, okay? You learn them, which means they can be unlearned too. And getting rid of them is not the absence of discipline. It is the presence of compassion. There's a phrase I like from the show Ted Lasso. It says, be curious, not judgmental. And so as you start to question some of these rules, I want you to make sure that you do it with curiosity, not with judgment. Don't be hard on yourself for believing something that was taught to you. Don't feel bad because you used one of these rules, even though it might seem silly now. You are allowed to trust your body. And trust does not need a rule book. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Showing Up Anyway. You can find it for free on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And wherever you're listening, if you like the show, I'd love it if you gave me a 5-star review because that does help other people find the show. And hopefully it'll help change their life just like you're looking to change yours. If you're listening on Spotify, though, you can follow me and tap the bell icon so you get notifications when new episodes come out. I'm Coach Adam. Remember, when things get challenging, keep showing up